All right. Welcome back, faithful listeners here, the Up My Hockey podcast. We have a super special guest today by the name of Josh Norris. I know he's probably familiar to most of you. Although I am out west, some of us don't follow the Ottawa Senators. So if you live under a rock, Josh is top line center for the Sens this year as a rookie, leading the team in points as we speak right now and having a fantastic rookie campaign. So welcome to the show, Josh.
Thanks for having me, Jason.
Hey, man, no worries. I guess we should get into the backstory right away and just get it out in the open there. I played with and was roommates with Josh's uncle, Warren Norris, out in St. John's, Newfoundland in my time with the Baby Leafs. So Warren and I, as I call him, Chucky, have been in touch through the years here. And he was bragging about Josh. And I was like, man, I should interview Josh if he'd be into it. He's like, well, I'll check. And anyways, here we are like 12 hours later. You were so nice to come on and do the interview. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, no worries. I would have liked to known how, I guess, Chucky was as a roommate too. That'd be interesting to hear.
Never short of words, is he?
No, he could talk to a brick wall.
Yeah, there's never a dull moment. Not much quiet time living with Chucky. He told me to make sure that I pump his tires and let everyone know that you got your hands from his uncle. It wasn't his dad. So I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. No, I got my size from him, but
that's funny. So let's go back. First of all, I mean, you come from a hockey family for sure, right? I mean, I know Warren loves it. Your dad was a heck of a hockey player, represented Canada real well at the international level, spent some time overseas. Where was your minor hockey played? And let's talk about that experience a little bit.
So I grew up in Germany, in Frankfurt, and my dad was over there for the second part of his career. And I actually started in Cologne, but I was really young. I was like 1 or 2. And then he ended up signing in Frankfurt. And then I was there for about, I think, 8 years. So I came back when I was, I think, 10 or 11. So yeah, I started in Frankfurt and it was great. I loved it. To be honest with you, I miss it a lot. Haven't been over there since we came back. So it's been about 10 years, but it was great. I got to play with my older brother. So I played a couple years up, and that was such a blast. I loved playing with him, and then actually got a chance to play with my younger brother as well on a couple occasions. So it kind of it was good for all of us, and I know we really enjoyed it, and especially just the whole lifestyle of the European hockey. It's a little bit different than over here in North America, and the fans are a little bit more into it, and have their own unique style of cheering on their teams. And I know my brothers miss that, and I miss it a lot too. So I had a blast over there.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. When I first got over there, I mean, I went over relatively young, Josh, at like 26, 27. I was sort of caught in the minors and up and down. And I just wanted to reinvent myself, what I thought was for a season. And I got over there, and they're making up chants with your name in them, and people never sit down the entire game. And it was a real wild ride. And I couldn't agree with more with you. Like, I missed my time there too. Something about the country, the people, the lifestyle. It was, I don't know. It worked for me. I really enjoyed my time there, and I can imagine growing up there. But what about the hockey? Because I know, it has grown there. The DEL is been getting better all the time, especially with the development of the German program. That was kind of the Achilles heel of it, because there wasn't that much depth on the German side. So you'd get the imports coming in, which was real solid, and you're allowed a lot of imports. But the German players, they kind of fell off pretty quickly. But that's not the case, as you know, with young Stützle there on your team, and some of these other players that are stepping in big time, like Draisaitl and so on and so forth in the show. So what was that like, being a youth player in that environment coming up in Germany?
It was cool. Well, I mean, I guess at the time I didn't really know any different, because that's where I grew up, and that's where I learned to play hockey. And I thought, when I was there, it was really good hockey, and I just loved it. And like I said earlier, I got to play with my brother, which helped a lot and made me feel more comfortable. So that was cool. But I think, like you said, they've taken a huge step in developing their younger players. And obviously Timmy's with us now, and I live with him, and I get to see him every day, and just see how talented he is. And I'm really excited for him to see what kind of player he turns into. I think he's going to be a superstar. So it's exciting to kind of see the start of that process. And I mean, obviously you see a guy like Draisaitl, who's one of the best players in the world, and not a fun player to play against, and certainly not fun to be out there defending against him. But it's I like the challenge of it, and I've had to do it a few times this year, which has been great. And yeah, it's exciting to see. They have, that Zyder kid who's picked by Detroit, and Reichel, who was in Berlin. So it's they got a handful of guys coming up, and it's exciting to see that.
Definitely. There's been a lot of talk just here locally, and I do want to touch on you playing against the league's top players there. I mean, you're getting top line minutes against the league's best, and it's like a real nice introduction at the NHL level, and I want to get there. But just for my listeners and the platform that we speak about it is youth. A lot of them are youth hockey players that want to get where you are right now, right? Like that's where they want to be, and they're trying to establish how to get there. And sometimes parents are trying to navigate that path too. With the cross ice hockey that was introduced to novice here locally, I mean, there's so many people in Canada that were so resistant to that, and a lot of people want more games and less practice. And I mean, there's a lot of division on a lot of sides there. What was your youth experience like? Do you remember growing up there in Germany? Was it game focused? Was it practice focused? How did that whole thing work?
No, I would say it was definitely probably more practice focused, and I vividly remember playing like cross ice 3-on-3 for most of my time while I was over there. And, I don't really think they do that in the States. I'm not really sure how it is in Canada nowadays, but I remember I just enjoyed that part so much. And I really think that it's very valuable for younger kids to be able to, kind of learn how to play on a smaller sheet of ice and make plays and, just use their skill sets. And, at that time when you're so young, I don't really think it's necessary to have a full sheet of ice and have that much space out there. I don't really think that's too valuable for them. So I'm not really sure what the cutoff is for the age from, when they should go to full ice, but I think definitely, and certainly until they're maybe 10 or 11 or 12, just get them cross ice and, improve their skills and their, game reads and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed the cross ice thing. And I'm sure parents, I think they all want their kids to play more games, and they just want the best for them. I understand that, but from the kids' perspective, I think the way that they ran things in Germany, honestly, was really beneficial for me.
Cool. Was your old man able to help out at all, or was he too busy working on his profession?
Not as much in Germany. I don't remember him coming on the ice too often. He did sometimes, but obviously, he was playing, and then he ended up becoming the general manager, so he had a lot on his hands. But when we got back over to the States, he coached me for, I think, 3 or 4 years. And, that was great. Those are some of the best memories that I have, from youth hockey. And, I miss those days a lot, to be honest with you. And, it was great for him to be out there with us. And, it just, was really appreciative.
Any takeaways from Dwayne and his time? He was a player, right? I'm sure you've heard some stories. I'm sure he's humble and doesn't tell you himself, but he was a heck of a player. Any takeaways that he's given you, or any advice along the way that's helped?
Yeah, he's been really helpful for me. I wish. I hate to make excuses, and I don't think this is one really, but I wish that he was played maybe in a later time, and maybe he was playing in today's game. I think it would have suited him a little bit better. And it was really hard to make it back then as a guy who was 5'8", 5'9", 170 pounds. And so I wish maybe he was playing in today's game, but I guess that's the cards that he was dealt, and he did the best that he could, and ended up having a really good career. But I think from his part of it, he always worked so hard and was in really good shape, and was a good person and a good leader. So I think those qualities and characteristics to give those to me, I think has been a big reason why I'm at where I'm at right now. So I give my old man a lot of credit.
Oh, good for you. I love hearing that. That's one of the things I'm working with young athletes now on, those intangible parts of the game. There's so much emphasis on the skill component and the physical component, and using your facility to be better. But as you know, at where you're at right now, the relationships you develop, your ability to develop those relationships, the type of person you are showing up at the rink every day, what type of character position you fill in that dressing room really does matter, as far as your opportunity and even your longevity. So to hear that from you at such a young age, I think that's great. And that your dad taught you those things, that's amazing, because, none of us are all that fortunate, right? Sometimes we have to learn the hard way. So it's good that you got it figured out. when you came back over, so again, you said in Germany you didn't really know any different, right? Minor hockey was minor hockey. You were just doing your thing there, living the life. When you came back over, and then you were in the States, what was the comparison like then, and where did you fit in as far as in the pecking order of 12-year-olds or whatever, however old you were when you came back over?
I fit in pretty well. I actually remember we came back over in I think like September or something. So we came back over really late, and a lot of the teams had already filled up their roster spots, and I didn't really have a team to go to, and same situation for my brother. So it was kind of hard to get on a team. But I remember somehow my dad got a hold of a guy his name was Len Tosta. He was coaching in Troy, Michigan, and I think they were looking for another player. And so anyway, my dad ended up reaching out to him, and he said, "Hey, like, can you come watch my son skate? Whatever. We need a team. We're coming back from Europe." And Len was like, "Yeah, sure, we'll come watching." But it was like a stick and puck kind of like, wasn't even a trot. It was just like a skate, like kids were skating around and stuff. Yeah. After about 5 or 10 minutes, I think I got off the ice and was talking to Len, and he's like, "Yep, we'll take him right away." So I did pretty well as soon as I came back, and it wasn't too hard for me to find a team. And I'm lucky that Len took me, because there wasn't too many teams that were still taking kids. So it kind of started there, and then I played AA actually for 2 years, and then I think when I was 13, I played my first year AAA, and then just kind of progressed from there. And
cool. I'm just going to slow you down for a second. So that progression from the AA to the AAA, was that because was AAA not available, where you weren't not quite ready yet for AAA, or like to talk about those couple of years there?
No, it wasn't that I wasn't ready. Well, the first year was just kind of tough, like I said, because there wasn't really any teams that were still looking for guys. So and then the following year, my dad got the chance to basically run the Oakland Grizzlies, which is a youth association in Detroit, and then also had the chance to coach me. So it was for the AA team too. So we were like, why not do this? Like, this would be a ton of fun. And I had other options to go play for Caesars and Honey Baked and other teams, but I think I just really wanted to play for my dad. And then the next year was when he started coaching me in AAA, and coached me until I was 15. And then he kind of sent me off to a different coach, and figured it was time to kind of let me go. But it was I had a great time with him.
Awesome, because not everybody has that same experience. Like right now, I'm coaching my kids, and by the way, it's pretty cool. I didn't know that you had 2 brothers, so I'm raising 3 sons right now myself, who are all hockey players. Wow. I think I'm thankful that we got a goalie mixed in there, because it makes it not quite as competitive in the corners, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to wear that hat of coach and wear that hat of dad, and find that mix, and and make sure you're giving attention to everyone. Sometimes I actually go the wrong way, and I give more attention to the others than I do to my own kids, just because I don't want to have that bias. How was Dwayne with you during that time?
Yeah, it was similar. I think if anything, he was a little bit harder on me than I would have liked. But it was good for me. I think it made me a better player and gave me a little bit more thicker skin as a 13, 14-year-old kid. And I grew up pretty fast. So he did a good job with me, man. The other kids were obviously, I think, very beneficial from it too. He's a hockey nerd, and he knows a lot about hockey, and he was able to handle younger kids pretty well, and just, able to push them. And I can't say enough about my dad.
Oh, that's great. What were the car rides like home? Kind of a random question, but it's been a topic of a few conversations about, enjoying the game, one, right? Because that is why you go on the ice. Even right now, it becomes real professional. It becomes a job, especially the type of hours you guys are putting in right now and in the environment. And to maintain that level of passion and fun is super important. At a younger age, sometimes kids are more worried about the car ride home than they are about the actual game itself, about what my mom or dad might say, or what the comments are. Was it coaching time in the car? Was Dwayne pretty positive, or how did that work for you guys?
I think it was a combination of both. I can vividly remember there's a lot of car rides where I wanted to go home with my mom after maybe not having a great game. And I can specifically remember there was a practice where we were doing a drill, and our defense, I think I was 13 or 14 at the time, and our defensemen weren't playing physical enough or something, or they were just letting the forwards kind of get by them on like one-on-one drills. So my dad kind of steps in, and he's yelling at all of the D, like, play harder or whatever. So for some reason, I'm like the first one up in line, and my dad's playing defense, and I'm going on offense, and he's kind of, trying to show the D how to play hard and play physical. And I'm not thinking my dad's going to hit me or kind of do anything. And I try to cut to the middle, and I don't think he meant to really, but I was only 120 pounds. I was a young kid, and he kind of just put his shoulder into me, and I smacked right to the ice. And I was so upset. I don't think I talked to him for a week, especially that car ride home. It was just dead silent for a half hour. So those are some funny memories that I have.
Yeah, funny now, right? Funny now.
Yeah, funny now. It wasn't at the time.
Yeah.
But I also had some great car rides with him, and where he's just given me a lot of advice to be confident and believe in myself and know that I'm a really good player. And so I think he had a fine line to know when to give me confidence and to know kind of when to be a little bit harder on me. And I think it's hard to tell too when you're that young. As a parent, I don't know. There's a fine line, like I said, and you don't want to be too hard on the kid, but at the same time, you want them to realize that it's important to always work hard and just give it your best. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. And I assume you're not a dad yet yourself?
No.
No, yeah.
No. Not yet.
I don't want to assume, but yeah, I mean, and now like me wearing that hat of dad and like how you said, like walking that line and how important it is because you recognize, especially being a player, right? A past player of like how important confidence is in that process, right? That the belief in yourself, and yet you still want to hold the bar real high on the standards and the expectations because that's important too, like you say. So,
Right.
all without taking away the fun. So, I mean, there's lots of stuff going on in parents' heads for sure when they're trying to guide these young hockey players. But I'm glad Dwayne was doing a good job there.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting too. You talked about I had an opportunity to play for Honey Baked and I had an opportunity to play for Little Caesars, which are two, I mean, really well known, established, right, organizations in youth hockey there in the States. People seem to be in such a rush, right? Like, you know, and not only at youth level, but even like, that's why I want to talk about you at University of Michigan, because university hockey isn't as rushed, right? Like the guys that are going to junior, it's like, you know, you're fast tracking, you want to get there, you want to be pro. Speak about patience a little bit, you know, like obviously you ended up being a first rounder, you're playing in Ottawa right now, and you didn't play at a higher level at a younger age that you could have, and it didn't hurt you, you know, like, do you think it actually helped maybe, or what do you have to say about patience?
I think it's such an important characteristic to have, and it's not an easy one to kind of instill in yourself. I think it's something that you gain a little bit over time. But yeah, when I was younger, I think that year where I played AA, the first year under my dad, it was so good for me because, you know, I played a ton, and I think we ended up winning the state championship that year and going to nationals. So I mean, not that that's the end goal, but I just, you know, have a lot of good memories with some of those guys and my dad. And I was just able to become more confident as a player. And you're 12 or 13, like, you know, like, what's the rush? You're not going anywhere for a long time. So just become, you know, a better player and work on your game, and don't be so worried about, you know, the next few years or, you know, scholarships or junior teams and all that stuff. Like, that'll come. Like, it's really not a worry when you're that young. So, and then, I mean, you touched on the college thing. I think that was, you know, that was really the couple years where I grew up and became a young man, and you know, kind of just really grew up off the ice. I think, especially my second year, it was I wasn't new to campus anymore, and everything, you know, like I said, wasn't new. So I was a little bit more used to everything, and I had some other people to talk to outside of hockey at school, which made the biggest difference in the world. And I think I was fortunate because when you go to a school like Michigan, they have resources that not every other school has, and they have people that you can connect with that will help you grow your mind and your life outside of hockey. And I think that was the biggest thing for me that I could say about Michigan, and the relationships that I've made. And I think they've helped me with hockey. And I'm just so thankful that I was able to go to Michigan. It was the best 2 years of my life, and I grew up a lot. And yeah, I don't regret making that decision.
Do you mind speaking on that a little bit? Like, as far as, you know, it sounds like you're speaking about life skills, you know, you're talking about growing up. You know, that might mean different things to different people. It is one of the things that I preach. I mean, like, for real, because like being able to manage not only your time, but your finances, be able to pay bills, find an apartment, manage those relationships and find that balance outside of hockey that's going to make you a better hockey player. Like all these things matter, right? In a big way. Where do you feel, if those are some of the things that you were speaking about, like where did you feel that you grew the most and you needed maybe that little extra time?
Well, I just feel like from an early age, and it's nobody's fault really, it's just kind of the culture that is in the hockey world, is that kind of hockey is everything and it's your life. And sometimes when you're a young kid, you can kind of base your self-esteem or your self-worth and your happiness and stuff like that on based off of hockey and how things are going, if you're playing well, if you're not playing well, and it can really affect you as a kid. And I think it kind of took a little bit of a toll on me. And I just needed some other people to talk to kind of get me straight and get my mind back in a good spot. And it made the biggest difference in the world. And just, I think the biggest thing for me was it just helped me realize that hockey is only, a part of who I am. It's not everything. There's so much more to life. It's a game. And ever since then, I've just been able to enjoy the game so much more and have fun and do other things in life that I enjoy. So it was definitely a decision that was so helpful for me.
Good for you. Good for you. Are you speaking about like professionals, like whether it be a sports psychologist or something like that?
Yeah, it was a sports psychologist. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm doing now, not with the letters behind my name, but I call myself a high performance mindset coach, and it's about strategies and stuff. And how do you position your self-worth, right? And your self-esteem and confidence. Because I can totally relate to that as a player. We already talked about my time with Warren there in St. John's, like being 22 years old in the minor leagues and, leading the league in goals and not being where you want to be. Like, one, I had no patience. Two, the only thing in my life was hockey, right? And that was what I based everything else around. And you get really wrapped up in that environment. And without the tools or the support factor, right, to be able to talk to somebody about that and worry about how to maybe transition your perspective or maybe add some bandwidth to your life, that you got some other interests, right? Like, it's tough to do it on your own at a young age. So, I mean, good for you to being brave enough to step into that. Because not everybody does, So yeah, awesome job that you did that. And you probably have that relationship now to go back to if you ever need someone to talk to again. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's a great message, by the way, Josh, for some of these other young athletes out there, is that there's nothing wrong with asking for help. There's nothing wrong with having it all not figured out, right?
Right. Yeah. And it can be a little bit confusing as a young kid. And sometimes you just need, one person to say a few things and it kind of just, a light bulb goes off and you're good to go. So it was nothing major, nothing crazy. I think I just needed more of a reset. And it was great.
Yeah, that's totally. I've heard that said before too. Like, you can hear a message 1,000 times, but the right message at the right time can make all the difference. From the right person, and it's just timing a lot of times. So awesome. Well, how about your decision? Actually, I wouldn't mind chatting about the national program there in the States, because it is different than what we have here in Canada. I'm a former World Junior Canadian player, which is one thing that I'm super proud of, and winning a gold medal the year that we were there. But that team, as you probably know, was just put together ad hoc, a couple months before the tournament, right? And then you practice and then you all go your separate ways. Whereas the US has a way different path to that. How was your path there, and how can you speak to that national program?
Yeah, the national program was it was really good for me. It's a tough program, I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of work that goes into it, but I can 100% say that I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for the US program. And it's kind of a cool situation right now. I'm playing, on a line with Brady, who was my line mate at the US program for 2 years. And so it's kind of, funny how that worked out, and we're having a blast right now. We really enjoy each other and enjoy playing together. So, first off, that's, a ton of fun. But besides that, the US program, it was, like I said, it was a grueling process, especially the first year. And then the second year, you kind of, start to turn the corner and beat a lot of teams. But the first year is tough because you're 16 and you're playing other junior teams who are, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. And you're kind of, the first year usually doesn't go too well and you lose a lot of games. And, but the good part about it is they don't really care if you lose a ton of games in the USHL the first year, because it's all about getting better and getting stronger. And then the next year you just hit another gear and you start wiping teams out, and you see the work that you've done, and it starts to get rewarded. And I was just able to learn so much about the game in such a little period of time. Like I remember, coming home after certain skates or certain weeks, and I'd be talking to my dad, and I'm like, man, I've learned more in the last 2 days than I have in the last 2 years. So it's just a time where you're consuming a lot of information, and it was a great program, and I miss it a lot, and I miss a lot of the guys that we had on those teams a lot too. So I had a really fun time there.
Yeah, I was checking that out. And just for maybe a little bit of color, because some of my listeners are out west and not that familiar, you have like an under 17 team and an under 18 team, right? So there's actually two different national teams, and you grow up together essentially. But I assume you also have to try out every year for that team. But it's actually a group of players that stays on one team going through the ranks. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's just one team. So there's a camp every I think it's in like late March. There's they call it Top 40 camp. So there's 40 kids that get invited from across the US, and then they pick a team of I think 22 guys, or I think 22 guys ish. And then you play 2 years together. So you play the first year is U17 year, and then second year is U18 year, and then you're done after that. So it's a 2-year program.
Gotcha. So when you are the U18 team, then there's a team underneath you, though. Is there not?
Yes.
A U17 program that's trying out as well. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's just kind of a revolving door.
I saw that you did really well in that team. Really well in the fact that one of the top guys on points, if not the top. I can't remember now off the top of my head. But was there any time in that process where you were like, "Oh shit, am I going to make this team?"
Well, yeah, there was, because before Top 40 camp, I had actually been out the whole season. So when I was 15, I broke my ankle, actually twice in the same year.
Oh, wow.
So I think I played 15 games and I broke it, and then I tried to come back a couple months later, and then I kind of re-injured it again. So I was done for the year. And then I remember I got cleared like 2 weeks before 40 camp, and I didn't even know if I was going to get invited. And I finally got invited, and I had like 2 weeks to get into shape. And I remember me and my dad going out on the ice and just bagging myself and trying to get. Oh,
yeah. Sorry, you cut out there. You still there? Yeah, I got you now.
Where did you hear me last?
You're bagging yourself to try and get ready.
Yeah. So I was bagging myself with my dad, and just trying to do the best that I could. And then got to 40 camp, and I was just like, well, I got nothing to lose. I haven't played a game in a year, so just go out and play and see what happens. And the first 2 games were a little bit shaky. I didn't play my best, but I think it, just took me those 2 or 3 games to kind of find my legs again. And I ended up having a few really, really good games at the end. And I think that's kind of what solidified it. And I had a great first year, to be honest with you. At the start, I was one of our, top point guys, and played a ton of minutes, and then ended up breaking my wrist again and was hurt. And so it was kind of a Band-Aid when I was a little bit younger. And but then I came back and had a good U18 year, and obviously got drafted to San Jose, and eventually got traded to Ottawa, and now I'm here.
Yeah, well, yeah, let's get into that. I mean, the draft year's a big year. I remember my draft year. It was at a time when we had to find out the rankings and stuff from the Hockey News, which still does exist, but that was the only thing really back then. You'd go to the gas station and buy the Hockey News and see what was going on. With all the social media, with the whatever you want to read on your phone, a tap away. What was that draft year like for you, from a headspace side of things, and even from all the pressures that are on it, whether it's from you yourself or from your coach or whatever? I mean, what do you remember about your draft year?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's definitely a fun year. It's a year that you really want to play well and showcase yourself, and obviously go as high as you can. At the same time, I think it's a little bit tough sometimes. I think I was a little bit too hard on myself, and it was I don't know, it was good and bad, I guess. And I'm kind of glad that it only happens once and I don't have to go through it again. But it was good, and everything worked out, and had a lot of fun, and met a lot of really good people around the league. So
sure.
Draft year was good and bad, I guess.
Yeah, well, if you don't mind speaking on that, because I think that for me, that's the good stuff. And I know sometimes it's easy in a conversation like this or in an interview to say, yeah, it was good and bad, and we kind of go over that. But like,
Yep.
I remember, I mean, for me, I'll just tell you a quick story. Like I couldn't get played my draft year. For whatever reason, there was some issue with my coach that like he just really had a hard time putting me on the ice. And so I went from like a top 10 kind of projection start. I could see myself sliding, right? I'm not getting the minutes. I'm not producing. I'm holding the stick a little tighter, right? And so there was a lot of stuff that I had to go through, questioning whether I should trade, ask for a trade, whether I should stick it out there, what this was doing for my character or saying about me, right? So there was all these things going on. Because you know that there's a draft pick in the balance, and there's also dollars and cents in the balance. You know, there's other things that are at stake. So, what were some of the adversities, and what were some of the things, if you were to do it again, maybe how would you have handled some things differently?
Well, I could say I think right from the start of the season, I was thinking about it a little bit too much. And I think I ended up pulling my groin, so I missed like the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, and I mean, that set me off or set me back a little bit. So I was a little bit worried about that. Kind of behind the 8 ball right away. And didn't really have a great first half, to be honest with you. Wasn't playing my best. Was, like you said, maybe gripping my stick a little bit too tight and worrying too much about the end of the year rather than just, being in the moment and playing it game by game and controlling what I could. I mean, that's easy to say now, but at the time it was tough. But the second year, or the second half of the year, I said screw it, and I just went out and played, and had more fun, and the numbers kind of followed that as well. So if I could go back and tell myself one thing about it, I would just say don't change a thing just because it's draft year. It's it's still hockey. It's still just a game, and then there's a little prize at the end of the year, I guess. So just have fun, enjoy it, and just play it like any other year.
Well put. Well put. I think that seriousness for most guys, like, okay, this is serious now. Like this is a big deal. Like when we get in that type of headspace, I mean, things don't go well because we're still playing a game out there, right? Whether it's for $1 million or whether it's for a Pee Wee provincial championship, right? I mean, it's like that's where the fun has to be. And I think staying connected to that is really wise words, because it does keep you in the moment. It keeps it loose. It doesn't keep it stiff and tight. Congratulations, by the way, on the 19th overall. I mean, I don't know where you're expected to go. Sometimes expectations are all it's about. If you expected to go 10 and you went 19, you're probably disappointed, but still something to be proud of. Nonetheless, that's a great position. And then let's talk about that trade, because did you have a chance? I didn't check the date of the trade. Did you have a chance to even go to camp with San Jose, or were you traded before that?
I got to go to 2 development camps, but I never actually got a chance to go to main camp just because of the college rules. So I literally never got a chance to go to main camp, and I was traded. So it's kind of crazy stuff.
Right. Yeah, that's wild, because I was going to say, like, just even, getting into your pro career now. I mean, you were in the minors last year and got your 3 games up, and now looks like to be a regular NHL regular for a long time. But you're so young. Like the Senators are so young just as a whole, right? Whereas the San Jose experience would have been remarkably different to be around, Joe Thornton and Marlowe and all these guys that have been there a long time. I was going to ask you what you thought the difference was, or what you felt the difference was there, but without having a chance to be around them, I guess you never really got a chance to know what those guys were like. What was your experience with your first main camp and going to Ottawa and trying to make a hockey team?
It was a little bit nerve-wracking. I guess back to the injury side again. I had shoulder surgery before the season started, so
you got two ankles, a wrist, and a shoulder.
Ankle, wrist, and a shoulder. Yeah.
Wow.
So my second year at Michigan, I played 20 games and then was at the World Juniors and separated my shoulder, so I needed surgery. Got surgery right away in January, and then just started rehabbing and ended up signing in I think May or so. So I had about 6 months to get ready for, or not 6 months, about 4 or 5 months to get ready for main camp. And wasn't in the best game shape, I guess. And was still a little bit nervous about my shoulder. Didn't really know how, that was going to hold up. And camp didn't go great for me. And I got sent down after, I think, the second preseason game. And went to Belleville right away. And I think I remember starting on like the 3rd or 4th line for the first 3 or 4 games, and was playing like 9-10 minutes a night, like not really playing a whole ton. And didn't really kind of know where I sat amongst the team. And we had a lot of, really good players down there at the time. And then I think the 4th or the 5th game, I remember they put me on the first power play and was playing with, Drake, who I'm playing with now, Batherson. Ended up having, I think 3 points, and then kind of just took off after that and never really looked back. And it was such a fun year last year. We had such a good team, and another, team that was really young with a lot of, really, really good talent. And we had a really good coach. Troy Mann did, an unbelievable job with us. I had a blast playing for him, and it was unfortunate the season got cut, a little bit short. I think we had a really good chance to win it all with the group that we had, and we had good goaltending and good defensemen. And honestly, it was one of the funnest years I've had playing hockey, and yeah, it was a great experience.
Yeah, good for you. I love what you talked about early there. I mean, being a first rounder, first main camp, you had different aspirations, I'm sure, other than being sent down after the second game, and then showing up and not really knowing where your role was. How did you handle that that bit of adversity? I mean, your first taste of pro hockey, and you said you got on the power play there, but what were some of the things you were doing in practice, or how were you thinking about the game? Leading up to that.
Well, I tried not to let my position on the depth chart really change anything about my work ethic or my enjoyment at the rink every day. And I can remember talking to my dad multiple times at the start of the season, and he kind of kept me grounded and kept my head straight. So he was really good with me for that. I don't even know if he probably doesn't even remember that, but it was frustrating for me at the time because I wanted to play a lot, right away, and just kind of do my part and know where I stood, amongst the team. And I just kept my head straight and put my head down and worked and had fun. And I didn't really change much.
Josh, are you there?
You there? Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I'm guessing it's your connection, but yeah, you did cut out there. Yeah, no worries. So you cut off there just chatting about sort of not really changing your game. You said you just try to stick to the plan and have some fun, and it sounds like you got rewarded.
Yeah. So I mean, I didn't really change a whole ton, to be honest with you. If anything, I worked a little bit harder, and I think the staff started to realize what kind of player I was, and that I could really skate, I could really shoot the puck, and I had some good skill. And they put me with good players, and I guess good things happen when you put guys with other good players, and that's exactly what happened. And yeah, I had a pretty decent year after that.
Good for you. Yeah, I saw your stats there. I mean, the AHL is a good league. I mean, it's gotten a lot younger, but it's a heck of a league, and you put up some real good numbers there. So congratulations on that great year. One of the things that I can speak to is that getting traded. I mean, like getting traded, it can be a great opportunity. Well, it's always an opportunity. I guess every new thing is an opportunity, but you never know what you're walking into, I guess, right? I mean, you have some familiarity with San Jose, the scouts, the prospects, right? You know that environment. Now you're in this brand new environment. You don't necessarily know what the coaches are thinking or what they're like, and you're essentially auditioning, right? And you're hoping that somebody likes what they see. That can be a little bit nerve-wracking at times, especially when you don't really know where you're fitting in, or if it doesn't go the way you want right away, right? Talking about being patient. So yeah, I'm glad you got your head above water there and started to kick some butt. What was your memories of that first pro year? I mean, it's different, definitely different than the USHL. I'm sure. What was your biggest adjustments to the A?
I think the first 5-10 games were a little bit of an adjustment. I mean, just a typical, it's like making any other jump. Guys are a little bit bigger, a little bit faster, and just takes a little bit of time to kind of find your game again and keep your confidence. And once I did that, I just, I started to take off, and I really, I guess I really realized my ability to skate and to be a full 200-foot centerman in the league. And I think the staff did a great job with me because not that I was bad defensively before I went into Belleville, but I had some things to work on. And, if you want to be a good, top 6 guy in the NHL, you need to be good defensively and be good on draws and do a lot of small things. And they pointed that out early, and we had some goals to meet. And we did a great job throughout the course of the year, and I did a lot of video. And the staff was good because they were so personable, and I was able to just kind of, talk to them about anything. And that was good for me. So I'm lucky I had a staff that was as good as they were.
Yeah, good for you. That whole, I've heard you use the word versatility. I saw an interview with you before I got on, and it was something that you mentioned that you were proud of about yourself, that you're versatile. I mean, a lot of times when you level up, as maybe you saw, sounds like maybe you didn't if you got in the PP there after the 5th game, but a lot of times you have to fill a different role than what you're used to, right? Like maybe you're used to being top line and getting first line PP minutes, but all of a sudden the team that you're going to, they need a third line checking center, and if you don't know how to do that, it's tough, right? I mean, you have to be able to do that role. So, what was it about the defensive side of the puck or the face-offs or whatever it might have been that you wanted to, or they pointed out that you said, you know what, let's shine a light on this and try and get a little better at
it? I mean, I think it was probably just I never really like realized how important like boxing guys out were. It might sound really small, but once you get to the pro level, especially as a defenseman and as the low center, like being able to box somebody out or just knowing, especially in today's game, a lot of teams play like a 3 high. So I guess the high forward will go out to the middle of the blue line, and you have to be able to realize that as a centerman. So nothing crazy, but just being able to make reads better and, having a better stick and being in better positioning. So, and not being on the wrong side of the puck, I think that was huge. And just, I guess, things that a young kid would need to learn to get to the next level, and just as any other kid needs to go through to get there. So just small things like that.
I love you talking about making reads there, because a lot of people wouldn't use that in the same sentence of speaking about defensive, right? And being able to make that read and understand where to go. And also I'll add in there to manage risk, right? Because somebody who's probably as tuned in as you are to the offensive side of the puck, and that comes real naturally, you're seeing opportunities to get on the wrong side of that guy and to maybe bust for that hole. And again, at the pro level, that can get you in trouble, especially when you're not winning hockey games. How was DJ with you? And I'm not saying you've done that this year, because I haven't seen you play every game, but I mean, people are going to make mistakes, plain and simple. I mean, how has DJ handled this young roster and handled you in particular?
DJ's been great. I think he's been really good for me, and he's been really good for all of our other young guys. And I think if I'm just talking about me personally, I think he's helped me, play a little bit more physical and play harder and realize the size and the strength that I have to go along with my skating and my hockey sense. And it's allowed me to become a really good defensive player at this level. So I think DJ has just helped me kind of turn my intensity up a little bit. And I think that's something that you obviously need when you get to this level. And, guys like Patrice Bergeron and, Kopitar and Couturier and, all these guys who are, really good 200-foot centermen, they have those, characteristics. So those are some guys that I really like watching. And, even a guy like Bo Horvat in Vancouver, I really like too. So those are some guys that I like to watch and model my game after.
Yeah, good for you. And they take pride in it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
exactly.
like you have to care. I mean, you do have to care. You have to care about what's going on down there, because I interviewed David Quinn, I mean, head coach of the Rangers, I'm sure you know, and he said defense is a decision.
Yeah.
It's like, do you want to do it? Everyone can do it, but you have to want to, right? And if you take some pride in it, then you're going to gain that coach's trust. And for all the young guys out there listening, that's a great way to get more ice time, is to be reliable, right? And be trusted by your coach, and he's going to want to throw you out there. How about faceoffs? I mean, I've talked to a few centermen, Derek Ryan being one of them, Jerome Iginla being another one that comes to mind recently, like just the importance of that skill of being able to win a faceoff. Where do you think you're at in that progression? And I assume that was a bit of a big challenge coming into the NHL level, playing against the best of the best.
It was. I know I touched on it earlier that I worked on in Belleville, but it's always something that I've been really good at. Starting from the U.S. program to Michigan, to Belleville. Even last year I had good numbers, and then this year I think I'm hovering right about 53% or so, which is pretty good in my first year. But it's very important, and I think I've gotten a lot more ice time from it because of it this year, and to win some, defensive zone faceoffs and whatnot. And I think DJ trusts me now to know that I can win some big faceoffs. And as a player, that's all you can ask for is trust from your coach, and to know that he believes in you to go out there and do what he asks of you. So if anything, I think it's just something that can get me some more ice time, and it adds more value to my game.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, and you're playing huge minutes, man. Like I was checking your minutes out as a rookie, like 19, 20 as a first line center. Like congrats. Like that's that might be more minutes than I played my entire NHL career. So I'm definitely jealous. I love seeing that. What about the mentorship aspect and the leadership aspect? Like there is some, mid-20s, older 20s on your team, a few, I think there's a nice advantage of having a young team. Like you said, you're really familiar with Tkachuk, you're familiar with Batherson from the minors, right? Like, so there's a core group of you guys there that are kind of the spoon or the straw that's stirring the drink, which is cool. But there's also, doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of league experience, maybe, like that's kind of being that voice in the room. If there is somebody who is that, and who are you looking up to right now in that locker room?
Yeah, well, I think we're in a unique situation. I feel like our team's built a lot different than some other teams in the league that are a little bit older. And, it's cool for us younger guys too. We're all kind of going through this together, and there's a really big handful of us that are, going through it. Which is great to see. And we have some older guys that have been great. I know they're not here anymore, but a guy like Erik Karlsson was great, and he was very vocal in the room and helped me out a lot, especially defensively. And then, one of my favorite guys that we had this year was Derek Stepan. Unfortunately, he's not here anymore and got injured. But man, I loved being at the rink with him every day. He was so fun to be around, always in a good mood, cracking jokes, and just was a really good pro. So, and he was vocal in the room too. So, those are two guys that we lost, but two guys at the time that were, crucial for our locker room.
Yeah, no, good points. It's, yeah, I mean, I just remember my time in back playing, and there is an element of like understanding how to be a pro, like, for lack of a better word, right? I mean, you can have the talent, you can have the tools, but like, what does it take to be an NHLer or to be a professional hockey player when you have those guys that's why I was really curious to hear about like a Joe Thornton or whoever that's been there for so long and how they carry themselves and what that could teach you. But hey, I mean, that's the thing. Every place is a different, unique experience in the NHL. And the fact that you are in such a young team, I'm sure you're grateful for every day. I mean, you're putting up huge minutes and you're earning your ice. But in a different organization, I mean, there's going to be a guy in your role right now. There's going to be a guy that
Right.
you would have to be playing underneath. So you're getting those minutes. It's awesome to see, and it's really great to see the strides your team has made this year because of that. Like the growth you must have seen. Just for yourself as the collective, and then maybe you as an individual. Can you speak to that a little bit? Like how you guys are getting, seems like you're getting better every day.
Yeah, well, and I think you can see that sort of the second half of the season too. And even just the last two games, I know it's a small sample size, but we've added a couple of younger guys, and Pinto and Jacob Bernard Docker, who are going to be really, really good players for us for a long time, I think. And Matt Murray's back in net now after being injured for a while, and it seems like he's found his game again. And I think when you watch us, you can just tell there's a maturity that we've gone through this year, and I think we're understanding how to win games late in the third period. And not sit back on our heels. I think that's something that we were doing a little bit too much at the start of the year. We'd have the lead in third, and we'd kind of come out in the third period and just lay a goose egg. And I think we've grown a lot from that point. And we just want to keep building off that right now. There's a lot of confidence in our team and in our room, and we know that we have a lot of good skill and guys who play at 200 for a game. So it's just fun to be a part of right now, and I hope that we can really close the season out on a good note.
Yeah, no, I'm praying and cheering for you guys too. It's looking great there. And just for the listeners too, I never mentioned it here. I mentioned to Josh before. I mean, I played with DJ for 2.5 years, their coach in St. John. So it's awesome to see the success now that he's having and having the head job there in Ottawa, which I know he deserves after his time there in the OHL and playing shotgun there to Babcock for a while in Toronto. So great to see him having success there too. Your personal success, man, like you're hot right now, 7 points the last 4 games, 10 points in the last 8. Is this the best you think you've done personally at the NHL level so far?
I do. I think I feel more comfortable now, and I feel confident with the puck, and I feel like I can just go out there and be myself and make plays. And I think the last probably 6 or 7 games, I've scored some goals where I've just beaten goalies clean, and I'm starting to believe in my shot a little bit more. I know I've always had a good shot, but once you get to the NHL, it's a little bit different. And then once you kind of start, scoring a couple, it gives you confidence, and you just want to keep shooting. And Yeah, so I could say that's it's a very fair statement. The last couple weeks have been really good for me, and definitely the best stretch of this year, I believe.
Yeah, good for you, man. Yeah, I noticed that shot. Holy smokes, you got a Howie going right now. And it also seems
Yeah.
like you like top glove. I mean, maybe I shouldn't have said that, let your secret out, but I guess it's not hard to tell. You've been putting that puck top cheese real nice lately, and you guys are really rolling. You mean playing with Brady, yeah, it's a fun team to watch. You guys are playing with energy and geez, next year looks interesting. Like you said, close the season out hard, and I mean, obviously we're looking for the next year, and everyone knows you guys are in a bit of a rebuild, but that rebuild can happen fast, especially in this league when it is as young as it is, and you guys get some experience under your belt, and it could be a fun thing for a lot of years to come. I mentioned earlier you talked about playing against the top players, and mentioned Leon Draisaitl and what a challenge he is. Playing in that North Division this year, I mean, that is a bit of a difference, I guess, from a normal NHL campaign. You're playing the same teams all the time, so you're not getting a chance to play against Sydney and Ovechkin, and I mean, obviously there's other big names that are out of those divisions too. But I know those were some of those players you were watching growing up and idolizing. Who are some of the toughest players to play against this year, and have you had any like wow moments? Stepping into the league of like, I can't believe I'm on the ice with this guy.
Well, I mean, the first two guys that stand out to me are McDavid and Draisaitl. I think McDavid's, by far the best player in the league. I know I haven't played against any of the American, teams, but just from the Canadian division, it's pretty evident that he's head and shoulders above everybody else. And sometimes it seems like he's not really human and does some things that are pretty special out there. And I can remember, I think it was my first time in Edmonton this year. It was maybe our 7th or 8th game, and we were playing Edmonton, and I was excited to play those guys. Obviously, the first time on the ice with McDavid and Draisaitl, and just wanted to have a good game. And I think the first 6 or 7 minutes, we were down 4 or 5-0. They both had, I think, 4 points in the first period, and I think Draisaitl ended up having 6 points in the game. McDavid had 5, and that was kind of I feel like, welcome to the NHL moment. Like, wow, like these guys are unbelievable, and it was just cool for me to see that. But there's a ton of good players in this division. Matthews is really hard to play against. He's a horse. Marner's he's nifty. He's like a little snake out there. He's smart. So there's a lot of good players in this division, and it's fun to compete against them every night.
Yeah, for sure. From a competitor side, meaning I'd like to know how you do that. So you're a young guy in the league. You play against these guys who are, you idolized, I guess I would say, growing up. I mean, they're some of the best players on the planet. You get your ass handed to you in the first period. You're probably dashed 3 or 4. You're rattled, but yet you got to compete against these guys. Like, what did you take out of that, other than I know these guys are good, but I know you got to come back as the NHL and try and figure out a way to be competitive with them. What was your takeaways from that first experience?
Well, I mean, it was tough. Like, I mean, I don't really know. I was a little bit confused after the first period. I'm like, what the heck just happened? This is this is unbelievable. Like, I've never seen anything like this before. And I was like, man, I'm not surprised that this is what they do to other teams every night. So I mean, I don't know. It's the NHL. It's next game's a new game, and you have to be ready to play. And it doesn't matter what happened. Last game or a few games ago, or even last period or last shift. It's kind of your next shift up mentality. And I think I've adopted that a little bit more, the last month or so. And I've just kind of focus on controlling what I can control, and just being in a good headspace. And I think I've learned a lot over the course of the year to not get too down on yourself, not get too hard on yourself. The game is it's a very fine line, and sometimes it doesn't really give you much, and you got to be patient. And it's a very tough league, but I think I'm doing all right, and I'm finding my way.
No, you're doing great, man. You're doing awesome. You mentioned the things you can control, which I love, because that is some of the stuff that I teach and some of the stuff I talk about. And one of the things you can control is your preparation, which I found as a pro was one of the things that I was kind of always tweaking and that I didn't really understand. I thought I understood it at junior, but I didn't really get it. I thought I understood it at certain levels, but I didn't really get it. And it evolved as my career continued. What does your preparation look like for a game? And is there anything that you've added to it since you've become an NHLer that you've learned from somebody else?
Well, I try not to be superstitious. That's the first thing. I mean, I have a couple of things that I do physically before the game, just to kind of get my body ready. Some shoulder work, some hip work, and then a couple of stretches that I like to do. But other than that, not a ton. I do visualize a little bit before the game. For example, just visualizing what I want to do, if it's winning a faceoff, or visualizing myself on the power play taking a one-timer from where I've been scoring lately. Just things to kind of get myself in the right headspace, and to have positive thoughts, and hopefully I can carry those through to the game. And I find most times when I'm able to do that, I feel a little bit lighter, and I feel not as stressed, and I just feel better about myself. So I think visualizing is definitely something that a lot of younger kids should do, and I think it's great.
Yeah, I found, and I don't know if you can speak to this. I know everyone's different. I liked it. I think it's natural to visualize the goals, right? The offense and like beating guys, because it's fun, right? It's like a little highlight reel in your head. But I found once I start to take it more as a professional approach, let's call it, is I started to visualize the defensive side of the puck, like where I should be off a draw, what my read should be if the defense has and is coming around over to my wing, like those types of things. So when the game happened, it was more natural for me to do that, because I've seen it before, I've done it before. So I included that as kind of part of my preparation on the defensive side of the puck. Is that something that you do? Is that something that you've been doing?
It is, and to just add on that, it's the visualization. I can't even say the word visualization part. Isn't something that I just do before the game, but it's kind of something that I do during the game. Honestly, like in between shifts, and I come back to the bench and I try to self-center myself and just get ready for the next shift and focus on my breathing. I think that's a huge part. I've focused on my breathing and kind of learned that if I can control my breathing and my heart rate and get it to come down as quick as I can. And that helps me mentally too, just kind of relax. And sometimes I get wound up during the games and I just kind of need to, recenter myself. So that's something that honestly I think is super helpful for me. And I think it's really been helping me a lot.
Yeah, good point. Really good point. Because like I said, as you're controlling your physiology, your psychology is also being controlled, right? Because that's where you're putting your focus on, and it gives you that moment to pause and reset, and a real good tool for people after they've made a mistake. I'll just add, I'll put my coach hat on for a second, because sometimes we have a hard time parking that, right? Like we go over it and we're obsessing over it. Now the next shift, we have a bad shift because of our last shift, which is the last thing we want to happen. But if we're able to settle down in that moment, to either replay that thing and do it right, and then just repeat and then reset, like get some reset process going on the bench. Then we come out, new start, get going. And that allows you to move on from those mistakes, because the last thing you want to do is turn one mistake into two mistakes, because you'll end up right beside DJ for the rest of the game.
Yeah, you don't want to be there.
Not a good spot to be. You know what, man? You've been an amazing guest. I really appreciate your time. I said we'd go here for an hour, and we're right at 57-minute mark. So you're all-star guest, man. You're having an all-star type season, and you're starting to garner some rookie talk amongst the Calder discussion. How important would that be to you to be on that nomination list at the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean that would mean a lot to me. I've put in a lot of work, and I've worked on my game a lot, and not only the physical side, but like I've talked about for the last hour, the mental side too. And yeah, it would mean a lot to me. I've been fortunate that I've played with a lot of really good players this year, and they've put me in good spots to succeed. And I think that's all you can ask.
Maybe on a closing note, you mentioned the mental.
Do the best that I can.
Sorry, you cut out there. You cut out there, so I didn't mean to cut in on you, but I thought you were finished speaking.
Sorry, where did I cut out?
You just said that you've been playing with a lot of great players this year, and you owe a lot of your success to them. And I was just going to say, maybe as a close, you were talking about, you've mentioned the mindset, the mental side of the game for the young athletes out there. Is that something that you'd recommend them to actually consciously focus on? Is maybe their approach to the game, or how they approach mistakes, or whatever that might be for you? That what the mental side of the game means to you?
Yeah, honestly, that's probably more important than the physical side. For me, at least, I put a huge emphasis on that. And I would just tell young kids to don't be so hard on yourself. Just have fun, enjoy the game. You're gonna make mistakes. That's what happens. They literally call it a game of mistakes. So, like I said, don't be too hard on yourself. Have fun, enjoy it, try to get better. Enjoy your teammates. Enjoy your time at the rink. Just enjoy the game. It's the best game on the planet.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, you know what? The game starts by somebody losing the face-off, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so, and that's the
And
gateway.
some nights it's going to be you.
Yeah, exactly. And some night it's going to be you. No, man, thanks again. We'll cut her off here. Hope to stay in touch, and I'll definitely be following you. And like, if maybe we'll have Timmy on here one of these days too, and he can share his time with the Adler, and we can talk old Mannheim stories together.
I'm sure he'd love to come on.
Perfect, man. All right, best of luck. I guess tomorrow you're playing Vancouver tomorrow.
Nope, we just have practice tomorrow, and then we play on Thursday.
Oh, okay, awesome. Well, awesome. We didn't get into the bubble, but you know, maybe we'll save that for next time, because I know it's been a weird existence for you guys. But best of luck the rest of the way, and we'll be watching you against Vancouver, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jason.
Cheers.